You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com, on iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter, and take your first step into a larger world. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 66 of the Tumbling Saber Podcast. My name is Kyle.
I'm Corey.
Go to hell, Corey. He's back, everybody. James is back from his Euro trip. Let's welcome him in.
Yeah.
James, sir, how you doing?
Really good. We had an incredible journey. I took 59 super. I took 57 super kids touring across northern Italy, ending in Barcelona, and we really did have a super time.
That sounds super awesome.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Everything worked out. No hiccups, no injuries, no bad behavior, much to speak of. Incredible weather and beautiful places. And the highlight for me, besides watching the kids suck all that in, was the food and the wine. Oh my!
What were some of their superpowers?
The kids themselves had the ability to complain 0% of the time, even through crappy weather, and a ferry ride that made 20 of the 60 really, really ill. But no, their attitudes were incredible. No complaining at all, which in trips past has been sort of like the one thing I would, change if I could. So on this trip, almost none of that, which was awesome.
So what is the primary purpose of this trip? Was it just to check out different countries, cultures, historical things, or is there some other purpose?
Yeah, no, there's no assignments attached. It's really just an eye opener for a lot of the kids at our high school, and in a lot of the high schools in Quebec. Spend a lot of their time in Quebec, or a small bubble that may include like Plattsburgh or Burlington or maybe New York City, Boston, but Toronto, but not a huge circle. So getting them out to Venice, Como, Lucca, Cinque Terre, Barcelona, just completely eye opening from the pickpockets to the food to the style of European hotels. It's just eye-opening.
That's fantastic, man.
Amazing.
We're glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be back.
Thanks to Rob Cast and Carlos for sitting in on the main show and Sith Disturbers respectively. I don't know if you had a chance to catch up on those shows, James, but good times are had by all.
I heard.
Carlos
this
reluctantly
morning,
gives back his chair.
Yeah, it's all. You ever seen that episode of The Simpsons where the Homer spot in the couch?
It's all bent out of shape
like now. No, but did a fantastic job. So thanks for sitting in.
Yeah, again, big thanks to those guys for sitting in. And Corey divulged some rather interesting news last week on episode 65. I don't know if you caught it or if you've had a chance to catch episode 65, but it's pretty insane. Corey, why don't you fill James in?
Yeah, man, my wife and I bought a boat.
That's amazing. What kind of boat?
It's a 2013 Four Winds, like 18-footer.
Nice.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means, but I know what 18 feet is. So, is that a sailboat or a motorboat?
Yeah, it's gonna be it's a motorboat, like an inboard motor. I don't know the engine size and whatnot, but
cool.
I didn't bring the specs down with me, but
it's winter 10 months a year here, right?
Yeah. That's the whole thing. Like in the long run, like I'm gonna calculate. Like it's kind of hard to trying to quantify fun, but we're gonna have a go of it, and in the long run, I'm gonna look at like how much it's costing us and divvy it up and say like what we could use it maybe 4 or 5 months max out of the year.
Well, you know what? I know two expressions about boats. So since this is logged for us. We can look back on the show and you can tell me if they ring true in the future. But so number one is the 2 happiest days in a boat owner's life are the day he buys his boat and the day he sells his boat.
Really? Never
You've
heard that
had
one.
your first happy day, Corey.
And the other one is definition of a boat to a boat owner. A hole in the water that you throw money into.
Really? I don't know.
Those are the 2 expressions
Corey
I
is
know
sounding
about
surprised. Corey is sounding very, very surprised about the expense attached to a motorboat.
No, I'm very surprised of these expressions. Like, I know obviously there's lots of fees that come with this. Like, I did quite a bit of research. Like, you know, it's not like we're not prepared for that, but
boats. No, I'm sure you know. But I will tell you that when I bring out those sort of joke lines to boat owners, they all go reluctantly shake their head and laugh. They're like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
really, eh?
Yeah.
There's an oh shit component to the sound of Corey's voice there.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I heard it.
Hopefully,
I
I mean, weather cooperating. Last summer wasn't that great for boating and stuff with the wind and all that.
Oh yeah, Dad used his boat twice last summer.
Yeah, there's a number of factors involved there, but
Still, everybody has a number of factors they have to deal with.
Hey, dude, I think it's awesome you bought a boat because I can't afford to buy a boat, and I know you, and you have a boat. So now I get to use a boat, and you get to find out if those expressions are true.
there you go. We'll have fun, man.
I took my kids boating this summer, and they absolutely loved it. So, definitely we should get out one day with the kids.
Yeah, definitely.
James, it was hilarious in last week's show. Rob Cast was witness to all this, and I was incredulous. I was like, "What? What are you talking about? You bought a boat?" And I go, "Rob, watch. He's just about to suggest that we do a podcast from the boat," and he goes, "Oh my God, I was just about to say that."
I'm still thinking about it.
Amazing.
And Rob, being the savvy podcast producer that he is, he goes, "Oh yeah, because doing a podcast from dry land isn't hard enough as it is. Let's do it from a boat."
You've always got that lapping background noise to deal with.
And the wind. The constant wind.
We could go below deck, though.
Yeah, we gotta.
That's what I said.
We just gotta be. It's gotta be the perfect day, you know. The water's like mirror still. Like,
Okay.
I love it. You can get that most
man.
days at like 5 in the morning.
it'll be like the perfect storm.
5 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I'm sure there's going to be... Oh, James, we forgot to tell you. There's a Twitter game, or Twitter game sweeping the nation called Name Corey's Boat. The hashtag on Twitter is blowing up. So you have your opportunity to name Corey's boat, whatever you want to call it.
All right, I've already got some things in the back of my mind.
That's going to be amazing.
There'll be anagrams involved for sure.
Well, of course. Naturally. Okay. Moving on to, I guess, some Star Wars stuff for the sake of letting the listeners get on with their day at some point. We made it to the next round, guys. We are on the short list of podcast networks in the Star Wars Podcast Awards. So head over there if you haven't already, StarWarsPodcastAwards.com, and vote for us for Best Network. And of course, there's a bunch of other things you can vote for, and I'll leave you to your vices there. But definitely help us out with a ballot there. Very honored to be on that list. There are some amazing names on that list, and to be listed with them is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely like when the news came out, we were like, "Wow, that's awesome, man!" Like, just like a bit of elation there, you know.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, we've been around as a network for less than a year. I would say maybe officially 7-8 months. So to be this far this quickly, I think is a pretty cool thing.
Definitely.
Testament to the teams we work with. I was pretty much unplugged for most of my trip. I had I bought a mini plan so I wouldn't run up hundreds of dollars in phone bill, which apparently I did anyways. More on that later. But
I knew it.
I'm so annoyed. I had it in airplane mode all the time. I bought data. I bought texts. I bought time. I don't know what happened, but yeah. So all this is news to me. Like I was I'm behind on everything: podcasts, sports, WikiLeaks. Like I'm really unplugged.
Anyway, I think it was oddly kind of quiet on all fronts. I think.
Yeah, the Habs went on a run while I was away, but beyond that, I don't think I missed much.
All right, well, we'll get you caught up.
Yeah.
And we'll get you caught up on the Star Wars news here. Again, there's not too much going around. But the first thing up here is no Star Wars celebration in 2019. Oh my God.
No, in 2018.
This is Oh, sorry, you're right. And there's no celebration until 2019. My mistake. That's why we pay the big bucks, Corey, to catch me when I stumble.
Thanks, bro.
I'm surprised we didn't see a stream from the clickbait site saying, oh, no celebration in 2018. Does this mean Star Wars is in trouble? I was waiting for that stuff to come out, and to my surprise, it didn't come out.
Yeah,
so I'll take that as a plus.
The one few things that I heard about it afterward in some articles were basically, to sum it up, they said they wanted to kind of make it like harder, faster, stronger kind of deal, you know? Like it's going to be huge.
Is that right?
That's what I heard.
All right. Well, I mean, fair enough, I guess.
Logistically, right? It's quite a feat to put these things together. So instead of, as soon as this one would be done, they would already have to be starting for the 2018 project. So why not wait till they have a lot of stuff to do at once? It could be really big.
Yeah, and at the same time, fandom is not a bottomless well. You can't keep pumping fans for that much money every year. Although there are definitely lots of Star Wars fans, I don't know if there's enough really to do a celebration every single year. I think it's a good thing, frankly, that they take a break now and then. And it's not the first time they've taken a break, so if anybody feigns surprise or wants to cry that the sky is falling, I think this is going to be the 14th celebration since 1999. So more or less, we do get one every year, but here's the list. So in 99 was the first one, then 02 and 05, which makes sense. That's when the prequels came out. 07 had two of them, one in LA and one in London. 2008, 2010, 2012, and then 13, 15, 16, 17. So we've been getting more or less one every year now. But if we're going to take a break for a year and then resume for episode 9, I think it's a good thing. Let the event build itself back up and let fans get really excited for what is sure to be a huge event during the lead up to episode 9.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we have to go, Kyle. And you too, James. Like, we got to do this. I know I talked to Kyle off air and he's just like, man, I don't know yet, man. I'm like, what do you mean? There's so much time. Like,
just gonna let that hang there.
What? I mean, no excuses.
Well, it's not a mandatory thing. and nobody's going to stop you from going.
No, I agree, but I mean, come on.
No, I'll just explain to my kids we're not going to Disney World because Uncle Corey wants to go to Celebration. Cool. Done.
Yep, it's as simple as that. And you don't know where it's going to be either. What if are you going to are you going to talk that big if they tell you it's in Australia?
Oof. That's a game changer.
Uh-huh.
But I do want to see Matt Keegan.
Well, of course, we all would like to shake hands, press the flesh with Matt Keegan, but that's a long and expensive flight, my friend.
Did he share with you guys that Vader sketch he did?
The one that was pastel there?
Yeah.
Was beautiful.
Unbelievable. And he was like, I'm not that happy with it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I was like, what are you what?
I know. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. As you've come to expect by now.
I think he holds himself to a standard we can't really understand.
That is correct. We may or may not make it to Celebration in 2019, but I'm not committing to it.
All right.
I'm telling you, it's a lot of time standing in line. You have to be comfortable with that reality, Corey.
Well,
you can skip the panels, you can skip all the cool things, and just mosey around and meet guests and go to booths and walk the floor and meet people.
Definitely.
Or you can sit in line for 8 long hours to get a seat at the 1 hour panel.
We'll
You
see.
can do that if you want.
It depends on the panel, I guess. You know, it all depends what's going on. And if you're with the right people, you know, like, usually it can be fun, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, often, I think almost every time, the social aspect is what ends up being the best part of these conventions. But I don't know. Let's say that the panel that everybody kind of agrees upon, that's going to be the panel where we get a preview of episode 9. Let's be honest. Everybody's going to try and cram in for that. And you're going to have to line up so far in advance.
We'll figure it out. The Commonwealth, man.
Maybe I'll let you figure it out.
I'll come up with a plan. Kyle, you get up at 3 a.m.
Nope. I'll just say, no, dude, I've bought all your tickets for all the Star Wars movies. You can handle this.
No, James actually bought my last ticket. Oh, but you bought
I
the
mean, for the premieres.
You're right. You're right.
All right. Moving on. James, were you a fan of The Wire?
I'm aware of The Wire.
Oh man, we're 0 for 4 now, including Robcast. Yeah, none of us have seen a single minute of The Wire, really. And so last week we talked about Michael K. Williams, who was rumored at that time to be joining the cast of the Han Solo movie, only to have it confirmed before we even dropped the podcast. So he's in, and I am not at all familiar with the actor or his body of work, especially The Wire. But I'm deferring to fandom here, because everybody who has a reaction has been universally elated with this. So I don't know. I have nothing to add, and I'm guessing that none of us do either.
Oh, I've heard positive things as well. That's about it.
Same.
Yeah, so I mean, good for him. And again, judging by fandom's reaction, that's going to be a good thing for all of us.
I saw this clickbait article that came out on it already, like basically saying that they know what his role is going to be, and then you click on the article and it has nothing to do with that, and they kind of they say at the end that it's likely that he's a villain. That's about it.
Yeah, everybody's kind of guessing he's the villain. I don't know why, they just assume that, but there you go. And incidentally, quickly on the Star Wars, or the Han Solo flick, Jason at Making Star Wars mentioned this past weekend, that preparation for filming has begun at Fuerteventura, which is in Spain's Canary Islands, I believe. So,
yeah.
So I definitely want to see what comes out of there.
Some people are already speculating that it possibly could be Corellia. But
is that right?
Yeah, I've heard people saying that. But I read one reading the article, but it comes off right away, like the Western aspect to it, like, looks super nice.
Well, I think it's happened more than once. Like every time someone mentions an environment attached to the Han Solo movie, it's Corellia. Well, not so fast. We don't know. We don't even know if Corellia is in this movie.
You know, for some reason, I don't know if it's some old EU stuff that I have like embedded in the back of my brain, but I always imagine Corellia as being very similar to Earth for some reason.
There's a throwaway comment for you. All right, so this past week, Rian Johnson replied to somebody on Twitter who was, I guess, trying to squeeze the director for episode 8 into divulging some secrets from The Last Jedi. So he asked him basically, for my birthday, all I want is for Rian Johnson to tell me what The Last Jedi means. And to his credit, Rian Johnson replied and said, it means the final Jedi. Happy birthday. Which, of course, set fandom alight. So here we go. The Last Jedi means the final Jedi. So does this change anything for you guys? Corey, I'll kick it over to you first.
Somewhat. I guess, I think he could be just stirring the pot. It's basically, it's a synonym of last, so I don't know. It's
Ooh. Last. Hold on, everybody write this down. Last is a synonym with final.
You came close there too.
I really didn't.
No. But anyhow, like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely, like you said, people went crazy, and I was loving it. Like, I don't know what to think about it. I'm still kind of on the same page as I was before. Like, it technically means the same thing to me. Didn't really change anything for me.
James, I know you're just back from Europe, but have you been able to collect your thoughts on this? Does The Final Jedi say anything to you?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. This is exactly what I panicked about when I heard the title. It's exactly what I was like. I hope they don't mean like they're ending the Jedi and going on with something else, because that's where I check out.
I don't think it's going that way.
What if they end? What if it is The Final Jedi, but it's also the end of the saga?
No, that's okay. You found a way that I could accept. That's the only way, though.
Like, if they continue into episodes 10, 11, 12, and there's no Jedi, then you've got a problem.
Yes, I do. And I know I don't speak for all fandom.
It's The Last Jedi for now. But
yeah, it's the last until we need more.
But it's been said before, like, Yoda says that Luke's the last Jedi. Snoke says it. It's in the opening crawl to The Force Awakens. I mean, it's all in reference to Luke. So, again, like, Rian Johnson is just stirring the pot, getting people talking.
So, again, we'll loop around here to the confirmation from the Italian and French and Spanish title cards that The Last Jedi is plural. So then what is in store for Luke and Rey? You know, if we know that it's plural, then either Rey joins the ranks of the Jedi, lickety split, and then they're the end of the line, or it's curtains for Luke in episode 8 or 9, and Rey is something else. I'm sure there's probably other possibilities, but those I think are the two most obvious ones. Okay, so what about the concept of time travel in Star Wars? Not in the traditional sense of let me step through this portal or let's get into this time machine. But what if Rey has somehow been made a direct reincarnation of the first Jedi, which I think is sort of in the periphery in rumors of what's going on. And if episode 9 is indeed the end of the saga, what do you think about going back to the beginning, which is something Corey's talked about numerous times, and we start again with the first Jedi, but it's Rey.
It's like a prequel. That's cool, man.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
From a couple of angles, yeah. I mean, if they're going to wrap up the saga with episode 9, I think you kind of cut yourself short with characters like, or actors like John Boyega and Daisy Ridley. I guess specifically in this case, Daisy Ridley. She's so likable and she's been so good in the role that why not have her be the first Jedi and have her reprise that role? But the movie takes place 30,000 years in the past. Different name, different identity, who knows? But same actor doing the same things. I think that's a neat concept.
Yeah, that is cool.
I don't know that I like it, but I think it's something that's worth exploring.
It's definitely a way of making money for them.
Well, yeah, that. But I would hate for there to be only minimum two, probably 3 movies with Daisy Ridley in it. I think that'd be a shame. I think she should be around for a lot longer than that. So one way to do it is to have her be the reincarnation of the original Jedi.
Yeah, I can see that. I thought you were going to go in the direction of saying that like something to do with the like being powerful enough to be like the chosen one, almost like that clone theory falls into that, but like the Mortis arc kind of, like how she would be able to control both the dark and the light.
Yeah. Well, if it goes by that rumor, like one there was a brother and a sister, and the sister was the light side and the brother was the dark, which echoes the Mortis arc. And so, yeah, I would think that if Daisy Ridley was that reincarnation, that she would be the light side, the first Jedi. which I'd be interested in. I'm not saying it's a good idea and this is what they should do, but I think it's an idea that's perhaps got some legs to it.
And in that arc, they did kind of time travel in a way.
Oh, time stood still, at least for them.
Yeah, they were there. God, it was quite a long time, and in their universe, no time had passed at all, really.
Yeah, it was just a few moments. Okay, so this next bit here will kind of tie in, I think, loosely to what we've just been talking about. So last week, footage of The Last Jedi was shown to some Disney executives and shareholders at, I guess it was maybe their quarterly earnings call. And so some really rich people got to see some first shots of a movie that we're all dying to see. I don't know, Corey, did you get a chance to run down all the stuff?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, there wasn't all that much there. Said a shot of Leia in military garb. Didn't say anything. Lots of exotic landscapes like forests, oceans, deserts. Like pretty much you name it, you got it. It seems like in this movie, which is absolutely awesome. But when all this stuff first came out on Twitter, it was amazing. People were like melting down, arguing. I was just sitting back watching it and like loving it.
Some people just like to watch the world burn.
It was so funny. It was all over the "Who are you?" quote.
Yeah, so I mean, let's catch James up. James, are you familiar with this whole soap opera at all?
Peripherally, I've sort of been catching up on Twitter.
Okay, so there's a tantalizing line of dialogue in this. I guess I think this will probably be part of the teaser, where Luke is looking at Rey and says to her, "Who are you?" Now, in the initial report, I think what got people all whipped up into a fury is that they assumed, and of course the clickbait sites helped this along, is they said that this was the first thing that Luke says to Rey in the Last Jedi. And that's not necessarily true. In fact, I would go as far as to say that's not true. Because the initial tweet that described the shot didn't mention that that scene took place inside one of those little beehive huts. The initial tweet from Daniel N. Miller, who's a reporter for, I think, some newspaper. Anyway, he was at this event, and he described all the shots. But in his first tweet, and the curse of 140 characters, Luke asks Rey, "Who are you?" Then we see her deftly handle a lightsaber, which sounds cool, but it also would lead you to think that that's the first thing out of Luke's mouth as they stand on the hillside on Act 2. What he didn't include, I guess he ran out of space, is that took place inside one of the huts. So unless they stand there silently on the hillside and then move into a hut, and that becomes then the first line of dialogue, then certainly it's not going to be the first thing Luke says to Rey.
Nah. Like, yeah, some people were just so adamantly standing their ground on that. Like, oh no, they said it! And I was like, wow, no, that's not what was said at all. Like, I'm like,
but it could be part of like a conversation like, "Who are you? Search your mind, search your feelings," right?
Yeah, it doesn't mean identify. It doesn't necessarily mean identify yourself.
Not at all.
Right.
Like, we heard those exact same words in the Force Awakens trailer. Maz Kanata asking Rey that exact same question. And the answer to the question was, "I am no one." And that never even made it into the movie.
I mean, yeah, they could be just continuing that
Rogue One theme. Like, yeah, everything in the trailer wasn't in the movie, but hey.
Well, even The Force Awakens did its fair share of that, but it could be continuing that thought through teasers, trying to convey the idea of Rey trying to discover who she is.
No, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
So that line may not even make it to the movie. It might. It sounds like it probably should, but may or may not. Who knows? But definitely, it is definitely echoing what Maz said in that initial teaser. But that's what really got people all whipped up in a fury in the later half of last week. So among the other shots, Chewbacca roars, surprise, surprise. Finn dressed as a First Order officer on the bridge of a First Order ship, which sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah, no surprise there, though, really.
Well, the only I guess it's what's surprising to me is that there's no APB out for him.
I think the rumors have it that the Empire put a spin on it in the sense that
The
instead
Empire?
the First Order, excuse me, put a spin on it so as not to look stupid, that they're telling their own troops that Finn has, he's a double agent at this point. He's with the Resistance, but he's actually still working for the First Order. Hence the Tom Hardy scene with the butt smack, I think.
Yeah. That would be pretty silly of them, wouldn't it?
Of course. Make no sense.
So yeah, I guess the other argument is that, well, any information of Finn being a traitor died on Starkiller Base, which I think is also probably bunk, because the info of him being a traitor was also on Kylo Ren's Star Destroyer. So I gotta think the entire First Order is aware. So maybe what you're saying, Corey, does mean a bit more. That they're just like, well, it's all good. He's still working for us. He's good. Don't worry. It's fake news what you're hearing.
As long as he sticks to the low levels of command, kind of, and stays out of camera or sight, I guess. I don't know. Like, not get detected. Like, certain low-level people, like his old buddies and stuff that he worked with in sanitation, would be like, nice, what's up, bro? Good job.
Yeah, I mean, lots of other shots to discuss, but really, I mean, let's be honest, what we're all most interested in is the Rey and Luke stuff. So there are a bunch of shots of Rey with the lightsaber, swinging it around and looking very impressive while doing so. A scene of apparently this really gorgeous shot of Rey out on a point on Act 2, practicing with their lightsaber, as Luke like watches from afar, looking down on her, which I think is going to be really cool. Other than that, Corey mentioned Leia turning to the camera, no dialogue.
That's going to be a tough pill to swallow, eh?
Oh, it definitely will be. What sounds like a busted up X-Wing, like flying into a hangar. Sounds like a lot of cool stuff, but this one also got people really excited. So Rey's hand in slow motion with all 5 fingertips touching the ground and pebbles and dirt hovering around her hand. That sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah,
James, can you picture that one?
Definitely.
And that sounds like Rey getting real cozy with her Force powers. I can't wait to see where they go with that.
They already let us know that she's like, advanced for someone who's never been taught, or she's remembering her training and it's coming back to her, but she's somehow got a lot going on in the first movie already. So I'm not surprised that with Luke, even a short amount of time with Luke, that they're going to progress her to a level that's, probably where Luke was by the end of or beginning of Jedi.
I hope even more so.
Yep, she's going to be fierce, I would think.
I don't mean to sound like a bit of a hater here, but knowing when they actually showed the quantification of midichlorians and that the fact that Anakin was the chosen one, it's really hard for me sometimes to watch some of the Clone Wars and even the movies and be like this guy, like that other Jedi there is like so much more powerful, or just handling the situation so much better, or I don't know, just to know that he was supposedly so much more powerful than them, which I guess comes to fruition in the long run. But yeah, I don't know, like I was really expecting more out of that character in a way, like power-wise.
You're talking about Anakin in the Clone Wars?
Yeah, well, yeah, like before the prequels had come out, like I thought he was going to be this super, well, not even before, like when we saw the Phantom Menace and they showed that bubble of measuring his, like he was just overflowing, like just dominating everyone, and they were like, it's a virgins in the Force, this is crazy, this is like the prophecy fulfilled. Like I thought he was gonna just be like, wow, like super, super powerful.
I gotta say, that's an epic hijacking of the conversation. Good job.
Sorry, man.
Man, I was along for the ride, and I didn't even know where we were going for a long time.
Oh God. Anyway, just to wrap up on some of these trying to put the thing back on the rails here. One of the other shots with Rey seemingly in a look of panic, a state of worry, and she's got orbs of glowing light around her. And if anybody has watched enough Clone Wars or Rebels, we've seen those orbs of light before, which came to my mind right away, and to a lot of Star Wars fans. Basically, apparitions of the Force that act as I guess the best word to call it is guides. So it's really cool to see that some of the stuff that so far only happened in cartoons may be making its way over to the movies. To me is pretty cool.
I didn't see that one, but that does sound really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I hope that doesn't get cut. But guys, it's getting closer. We're about a month out from Celebration, so pretty soon we might have actual footage from episode 8 to talk about.
Yeah, I'm getting really excited. Like, already my excitement level for this movie is getting pretty high.
Already, eh?
Yeah, like just seeing the clock count down. Like every day there's that calendar on Twitter, right? And it's going quite quick, man.
Thank God for that. Okay, I mean that's it for that. Let's not belabor the point anymore, and we'll move on to our next topic, which is, well, really nothing. We're gonna just see if Corey's got anything new to tell us as far as toy collecting goes, and then we'll talk Rebels.
This week, not too much, man. I mean, we had our both our sons' birthdays this weekend, so there was a lot of that going on. He got some cool Star Wars stuff. That should be fun for us to build some Legos and whatnot. I bought a Yoda Disney Infinity figure today for like $2, which was a pretty good score. I'm missing like
money well spent, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm missing like Anakin, Ahsoka, and I think Leia and Chewie to get them all. So whatever. I mean, they were all super cheap, and this week, I guess Thursday or Friday, I definitely plan on going out and we'll have a nice recap next week as to the damage I did.
And the new goodies that you have to hide.
Pretty much. It depends how crazy I go, really. Like, if it's just like 1 or 2, I don't really care. But if I go out and buy like 10 at like $20-$30 a pop, then yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. So I showed you yesterday, Corey, when you were over. But yeah, sitting on the pegs at my local shop was a Black Series John Dutch Vander Black Series figure, and I just had to have it. It had been there for, I'm not kidding, months. And the price kept going down, and I kept ignoring it. But now that he's had this resurgence in Rogue One and last week in Rebels, I couldn't let it slide anymore. I had to have it. So I paid a hefty $7. Now I've got myself a Dutch figure.
That's it. That's a score, man. I don't know. If I would have saw that, I would have snatched it up in a second. Especially if there's only one on the shelf as well. I've learned that pretty quickly lately. Like, I'll come back next week. I'm sure it'll still be there. And yeah, no, they're rarely ever there.
No, this one sat there for a long, long time. But it sat there for so long that the card actually is pretty banged up. So not something that I want to have. Oh my goodness, this thing's gonna be worth a mint one day because this character is now back in the spotlight. Nah, it's just it's cool to have a Dutch figure.
Yeah, it's posterity.
All right, there's a little tiny bit on toy news. Talking about toys, it looks like the guys at TSW are doing even more content. If you haven't had your fill already, so Rob is getting together with a couple buddies. I think Jeremy at formerly of Talk Star Wars, still related to the family, and I want to say, is it Mark at Blue Harvest? Sorry guys, I'm totally butchering this, but anyway, Rob Wade is hosting the TSW Toy Box, and the first episode, or was it episode 0, came out late last week. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but I've, of course, others that have said good things, which you've come to expect from the good Mr. Wade. So I will definitely be checking that out. And if you're into Star Wars collecting, I would suggest you do too.
Yeah, that's the guy to do Star Wars toys for sure.
Yeah, I could just listen to Rob talk about anything. Yeah, so anyway, go check that out. I'm sure many people listening have already heard the episode, and I'm just preaching to the choir. But if you haven't heard it and you weren't aware, then go over there and check it out, because I'm sure it's going to be a great episode. I can't wait to get to it. Actually, by the time this podcast comes out, I will almost certainly have heard the episode, so I'm excited. And with that, I think we can go ahead and talk about Double Agent Droid. So, James, are you going to kick back and listen, or are you going to go grab yourself a cup of tea or something?
Yeah, I could use a cup of tea. I'll let you guys hammer this away. I just sent you, by the way, I think a pretty concrete Snoke theory via PM, so check that out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Enjoy the Rebels talk.
All right, we'll catch up soon.
Ciao.
All right, Corey, so Double Agent Droid is the latest in the Rebels line. And, I was a bit afraid going into this episode. Not because it looked boring or the description made it seem irrelevant, but I always get a little bit leery of something when you start promoting the next thing before the current thing comes out. So I think it was Thursday or Friday of last week, we started getting sneak peeks of Twin Suns, which were dropping before the Double Agent Droid even came out.
Come on, how can you blame anyone for that? It's Twin Suns, it's Kenobi.
Well, I don't blame anybody for getting excited. I'm excited. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
But hang on to those promos until after Double Agent Droid has come out. Don't bury your current episode with the next one before it's even out.
Well, even I finally know what you mean now. Like, having watched Rebels Recon this week, Dave Filoni was speaking on it a bit, and he technically said, like, exactly you had said he was not really big on this, but he kind of laughed and said a lot of people might call this episode filler. But yeah, I didn't think it was really. It was a good episode. It was fun.
Well, I think for the question to ask, if you want to see if it's filler or not, I think a broad way of doing that is, what happened in this show that advanced the overall story? And this episode, I think the answer is up in the air, but really nothing.
Yeah, nothing. I guess you're...
So I think it's... If somebody wants to call this filler, I won't begrudge them that.
But it was still fun really filler.
Oh, no, this episode was fantastic. I loved it. It was... I laughed out loud several times. Like, this was easily the funniest episode of Rebels, carried by AP5. Steven Stanton worked miracles in this episode. It was so funny.
Yeah, I felt bad for his character in this. Oh, God.
But he plays that role so well. Anyway, this kind of episode is still the calm before the storm, right? So last season, before Twilight of the Apprentice, we had The Forgotten Droid, where we first met AP5, and Mystery of Chopper Base, which were two pretty boring episodes. So if you want to slow things down, I guess what you do is turn to Chopper and AP5 for the quote-unquote filler. But I think at least with this episode, what they've learned is that if you're going to do filler, and people are going to call it that anyway, you may as well make it really funny and entertaining that way. If you're not going to give them things to pull out of the episode, as far as nuggets of information, then at least make it funny. And thank God for that, because this was so funny.
I like what you said there, kind of like the calm before the storm. We know we're ahead for some serious stuff coming up in the next 3 episodes. I think then said and done, 0 Hour, Twin Suns. So Dave Filoni again had said, it can't be gloom and doom all the time. So I like what you said, kind of pull us back for a second there. The last minute, get us laughing our butts off, and now we're headed into the nebula, or the...
What?
We're headed into the star cluster now, like the next 3 episodes are going to be super intense, like edge of the seat stuff every time. Like the way this
Well, do we
episode
call it
ended
3
was,
or do we just call it 2 episodes because 0 Hour is going to be a 1 hour special?
yeah, part 1, 2. That's the way they'll do it afterward. Anyhow, they'll divvy it up 30-minute episodes.
Yeah, once it goes into, I don't know if I call it syndication, but yeah, then they'll break it up. But anyway, let's talk about AP5 because this was his moment. I mean, I guess the episode starts where Wedge and AP5 and Chopper, all disguised as Imperials, heading out to an Imperial installation to grab some access codes for the base on Lothal. And right away, the backbiting, the sniping between Chopper and AP5 starts, which is always funny as those two just take swipes at each other. And Wedge kind of caught in the crossfire. Do you find that you kind of... I'm having trouble connecting with this version of Wedge. They've made him kind of a dope.
No, 100%. That's the first thing. The thing that really made me upset in this episode is that I think the gravity of the situation, the mission they were trying to accomplish, it was pretty heavy. And everyone was off their game. Like, Wedge was just, like, not listening at all. Like, not picking up on the subtle details that, you think these guys would be a little more bright than that. Like, AP5's kind of telling them, even Hera, I was really disappointed. AP's like, Chopper's been compromised. Like, here's what's going on. She's just like, yeah, I get it. It's kind of like a boy who cried wolf scenario in a way, too. Because they're laughing about him, Wedge saying, he even followed me to the refresher. And then Zeb's like, yeah, he's done that to me, too, But I get that he's annoying and all that, but right away he was on them saying, hey, something's wrong. And they're just like, hey, you know what? Let's go talk to Chopper. Like, he'll
They always figure something's wrong with Chopper. I think that's the default for Chopper. He's just, there's something wrong with him. Yeah, we don't know what it is. Just let it be. That's who Chopper is.
Yeah, poor guy. I was worried about this episode.
Did you catch... So how many of the young viewers... I mean, like I would say anybody under 18. Let's just go under 18. Got the anything you can do, I can do better thing.
No. Well, who knows? It's still pretty classic, no? I think.
Hey, my head is off to anybody who immediately got the reference. I mean, that movie's older than Annie, Get Your Gun. Where they pull that stunt. That movie's older than either of us. I'm not sure exactly how old it is, but that was a pretty classic reference and a deep cut there, and it worked so well where those two were just sniping at each other, and it just went on and on and on, and you would think it would get fatiguing, but it wasn't. And then they poor Wedge, they plow off into hyperspace, and then as soon as they reemerge on the other side, they're still going at it in the same repetitive, yes, I can, or yes, I am. There was a bunch of things that they were yelling at each other about, but...
No,
oh, man.
I almost felt like I can understand what Chopper was saying a lot of time in this episode.
Yeah,
just
I agree with that.
The tonality of it all, like...
Annie, Get Your Gun is from 1950.
But yeah,
I think I think was there a commercial in the 90s with Michael Jordan or a bunch of other athletes? I don't know.
Yeah,
doing anything you can do, I can do better. Was it Jordan?
That kind of does ring a bell. Yeah, I think so.
I want to say there was a female athlete involved in that commercial too.
Is it Wheaties, maybe?
I don't know. But anyway, my hat's off to any viewer that got the reference.
But again, I was really disappointed in Hera in that scene. I was getting so frustrated. Like, first knowing that my boy got violated like that, and that no one... Just the protocol that they had going on. Like, they just pulled off this really super covert mission, There should be some protocols in place where standard operating procedure, like, everybody check in and it's all super lackadaisy, like, I don't know, like, I get Wedge kind of looks young in this too, but he should have picked up on things too if he would have possibly known Chopper's character a little better. Like, AP picked up on it right away, like, saying, why are you talking to me in Imperial language? Like, I know, he's like, I'm on to you. Like, Josh Gad was the controller.
Yep. That was amazing. I was happy to hear his voice. Let's do some of AP5's greatest hits from this episode. So we already did the anything you can do, I can do better. My programming is superior to yours. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Which was just fantastic. Yeah, chasing you had mentioned it. AP5 chasing Wedge into the refresher and complete with the zipper sound.
Yeah, it was funny.
Tell me you caught that.
Yeah, definitely. It's the first time I ever heard the word refresher as well.
It's got to be the first. Our first look at a Star Wars toilet, no?
Yeah, I think so. And a lot of people kind of complained about that. I heard. I didn't see anyone complaining, but I heard someone saying about a forum where people were blowing up on Facebook, and I was like, cares? What? Like just complaining like that there's no place for bathrooms in Star Wars, kind of.
Oh, get out of here.
I know. It's like, relax.
It was hilarious. The zipper sound too was just actually the scene works because of the zipper.
No, but it is that whole episode. It was like the boy who cried wolf. Like even the controller was like, haha, he's like sealing his own grave.
Yeah. Pretty much everything AP5 said, even when he's monologuing to himself, is priceless. There's no reason for him to be talking out loud to himself, but he does, and it was priceless. The way that when he finally accessed that office and he secured the codes himself, he's talking about how he could have been sent on this mission alone, and maybe he should have been sent alone to do it. That whole monologue was so funny, and it's not necessarily the dialogue, it's the way Steven Stanton delivers it. It's so good.
Well, I heard we'll get to that, I guess, but the ending, the rest of the crew, they had already done all their work in the episode. All their audio was recorded. They were good to go. So it's kind of like everyone was like, hey, good night. And they were all like, yeah, no, we want to see this.
We want to stay behind and see this. Yeah, because from what Rebels Recon, right? Steven Stanton was saying, are we really doing this? Like AP5 is going to sing? Yeah, let's do it. Okay. And then all the cast wanted to check it out. I would too.
Oh, no doubt.
I don't know why it's not that funny, but when he called Chopper a traitorous grease bucket, I nearly lost it. Yeah, and again, it's the delivery.
And their banter too is just I wish I could just hear what Chopper was telling him.
Yeah, and it's like there's nothing Chopper can say that AP5 won't complain about. And then of course at the very end, AP5 drifting off into the void after his little skirmish with Chopper on the outside of the Ghost, and he's just sailing off into space on his own, and he encounters these. Best way to describe him is what, space butterflies.
They were Nebres, baby Nebres is what I heard.
Nebres? Oh yeah. Okay, well, baby Nebres, and he starts getting into song with them, and it had this very joyous musical quality to it as he kind of drifts off into the void all on his own, and he's happy about it. He's happy to get away from all the
quiet.
Because he can't stand the disorganization around the rebellion, right? He can't stand that everything is sort of ramshackle, and he makes reference to it in this episode where he missed the cleanliness of Imperial hallways. And I think he complained during the Warhead episode how he complained about something about the rebellion, if I'm not mistaken. How everything was just so unorganized and chaotic. He hates that.
Sure.
He hated that. So he finally had some space to himself, all of space to himself. And then you see that the headlight of the Ghost find him. No, I was so happy.
Yeah, it was such a good scene. Really,
Go
something.
Away.
Again, I heard people complaining about that too. I was like, seriously, that was classic. Like, really something new, different, and just funny.
Like, I don't want to see this happen all the time. Like this was in a bubble, in a vacuum, in a episode that really means nothing, and delivers nothing. A self-contained piece of humor. It's perfect. It's a perfect little episode for that. It doesn't impact anything else in any way. And I think if you're going to do that sort of stuff, in this sort of episode is where you want to do it.
Just before we stop talking about this one, I gotta say, like, this was pretty intense. Like, once Hera, they find out what's going on, and Hera has that plan, says, look, we're gonna put that power surge back to them. And first of all, I have to say the Ark of the Covenant is within Chopper. I don't know if you noticed that. Did you catch that?
Well, how he just glows from the inside?
No, like, watch that episode again. It's actually quite funny. Well, first, Hera says, say goodbye to your memory core. I don't know if that's Star Wars slang for see you in hell, because they blow the shit out of that ship. Like,
which I thought was stupid. I mean, how does that even work? How do you send power through space?
It was very odd.
It made no sense. So whatever power was being generated through Chopper and then beamed over to that ship blew it up? What?
Well, it made their circuits short circuit or whatever, but watch it again if you have it PVR, Kyle. It's so funny. When I say the Ark of the Covenant, they're like, oh my god, like, it's too much, whatever. And he's like, shut it down. Like, you know how when they open it and like electricity starts going through all of them?
Yeah.
That's what happens in this. Like, you see one guy gets hit by this thing and it prongs out until like all four of them are getting zapped at once. So it's the first thing that jumped out to me anyhow.
Well, yeah, because they're all kind of networked with that headpiece that they all wear, right?
Yeah, true.
So it would jump across like a virus almost and zap them all. But that really bothered me, the way they disposed of that ship. Like, it wouldn't, you didn't have to go that far. You could have just said, oh, I'm going to send back this signal to scramble all your circuits and put your ship out of commission for a while. To have it go to the extent of blowing it up.
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird, but, you know, hey, it's Chopper, man. I gotta let it slide.
And well, that means no more Josh Gad, at least for this character.
No, he done got.
Oh, he got all right. What was interesting, I guess, about that whole crew on that listening ship was how the Empire is willing to trade off humanity in the name of data collection. Because it seems like all those crew are somewhat lobotomized. They all spoke in the same robotic, emotionless, monotone voice.
Supposedly it's a voluntary, like they're giving up a piece of their autonomy to be a part of a network, which is, yeah, it's kind of creepy.
It's kind of weird. And now they're dead, so maybe that's the end of that whole project. But so here is the big question coming out of this episode. So how much info that was collected by that ship got to Thrawn, if any? It seems we know they got 50% of it, at least. And we know that Thrawn has to find the rebels in the next two shows. So the question is, did Thrawn receive any of this data and was able to make use of some of it to identify where the rebels are? Or do we put more stock in Ezra's line saying that they nearly got what they wanted? Is it an all or nothing thing when it comes to the data transfer? I have no clue. And I guess maybe it's intentionally written that way so that it's ambiguous and we don't know. But we do know that Thrawn finds the rebels. So I'm going to assume that somehow the information that was on the ship is maybe simultaneously copied to where Thrawn is. And he's got some of this information and is able to figure it out from there. Because otherwise I don't know how Thrawn will figure it out.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out.
Well, what's your take? Do you think that any of that info made its way to Thrawn, or it all kind of went up in smoke?
I kind of got the impression that it all went up in smoke, but who knows, maybe there's some kind of black box.
Yeah, I mean, the Empire is really stupid too. Like their protocols surrounding like data collection and how to back up your info and protect your info is really stupid.
And again,
like
the controller as well, and this is very stupid. Like, that information could have been transferred right away, but you get the impression that he's just like, no, wait. I want to make sure all my ducks are in order here, or all my ducks are in a row. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, he made a mistake. Whether or not he's following protocol, I don't know. But whatever info he's copying should be simultaneously being copied somewhere else, secure. Not in a single, with like a single point of failure. can cause the Empire to lose out on this kind of win. But maybe they didn't. Again, maybe they did get some of the information and they'll be good to go. But again, my gripe about how they blew up the destroyer, that's a small thing. My biggest thing is I'm having a real difficult time with this version of Wedge. I just can't put this big screen version and this younger version together. The difference in years is not that much, but man, oh man, in terms of like maturity and the character, there's a huge chasm there.
What up, boys?
Massive. Yeah, we're just finishing up here, James. Next week, Twin Suns is up. It's kind of the one that most of us have been waiting for. It's the showdown between Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan and Maul. And I don't know. Is this it for Maul? Is that Maul's swan song, Corey?
And on Corey's behalf, I'm going to say I don't know.
Did we lose Corey?
I guess so.
Yeah, sounds like it. Oh well. Like I said, we're going to move on without him. So James, have you seen any of the trailers for Twin Suns?
That's a big negative.
Anyway, so it's the showdown between Maul and Obi-Wan again. So it's the old version of it's the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan facing off against Darth Maul, or just Maul as it were.
Well, since we know the Alec Guinness version goes on to be in more movies, I guess we can assume that he wins this fight.
Yeah, and Ezra is on Tatooine as well. We don't know if he's going to interfere in some way. Obviously, Obi-Wan survives the fight. I guess the only question to be asked is, does Maul survive the fight? And you get a pretty... I'm gonna run a poll on this later this week. And I'm sure countless other people will too. Is this it for Maul? And a lot of people are going to say, yes, please, enough. And that will be me. And other people will say, no, you can't end Maul just abruptly like this. He's got to live on and do something else. So we'll see where fandom falls on that. Do you think it should be the end?
I like the idea of Obi-Wan killing Maul, so sure. I fall on the side of go for it.
Yeah, there's a full circle thing to Obi-Wan finally getting the job done and ending Maul.
Especially after watching him kill Qui-Gon.
Yeah, finally get payback for killing his master. But it's a half-hour episode, and that's a really big deal to tackle in one thing, in one short, I guess, 22-minute episode. Things have got to happen quickly in that episode, and man, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do it. I hope they do. I've kind of had my fill of Maul. So I hope that's the end. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to next week's episode. And with that, we can pay a visit to ads. It's been a while since you heard ads.
Way too long. I miss ads when I'm away.
All right, well, let's hear what ads has for us this week.
Hello, chaps. So, episode 66. And in recognition of 66, I thought I would base my question around Order 66. So here goes. Palpatine issues Order 66 through the chip that's in the clone army. And immediately, thousands of Jedis are killed across the galaxy. One or two famous ones obviously survive, as we know. But other than that, the Jedi Order are wiped out. So, upon receiving Order 66, clone commanders instantly identified the Jedi as traitors to the Republic and proceeded to murder them. So, with that in mind, why was Anakin not killed the next time that he made contact with a clone? Were these orders sent out universally as one message to all of the commanders? Or did Palpatine send them to specific commanders to avoid Anakin, for example, coming under attack until fresh orders or directives could be issued? And then I've got a more light-hearted would you rather based on Order 66. So, would you rather an Order 66 annihilation of all non-human characters in Star Wars, or an annihilation of all droids in Star Wars? So, Kyle, it's no more Chewbacca, or Corey, it's no more Chopper, etc., etc. Enjoy. Bye.
And there goes ads. Jeez, ads. I thought that was supposed to be a lighthearted question. Jeez. But good call on the Order 66 question during episode 66. Very, very thoughtful. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, why ads is one of the first Knight of the Commonwealth. It's that type of smarts, savvy, and creativity that earns you the stripes. So I don't know where Corey is, but James, maybe so. So, why was Anakin not killed upon meeting a clone in Revenge of the Sith? And James, I think it's probably been a long time since you've seen this movie. Do you need any kind of recap?
You might as well recap for me and anybody else who needs one.
All right. So, I mean, if anybody hasn't seen Revenge of the Sith in a while, what happens is that the Emperor, or Darth Sidious, as it were, reveals himself to Anakin, and the Jedi move in or Anakin then squeals on him, and Mace Windu and a team of 3 other Jedi move in to arrest Sidious. That doesn't go so well. Ends in Mace Windu's death. Ends in Anakin committing himself to Sidious. And in that instance, once Order 66 is issued, why isn't Anakin lumped in? Well, when he finally marches off with a battalion of clones to knock off all the Jedi remaining in the temple, is there, I don't know, is there an extra line of coding in the clone chips that says, okay, but kill all the Jedi, but not that one? Or, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Kill all the Jedi, but not the Sith. I guess he's flipped and he's no longer a Jedi, and they can somehow detect the difference, same way the Kyber crystal can.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe we just weren't told everything. I mean, there is a small passage of time. Maybe Sidious issued another order or clarification to Anakin's battalion of clones, saying, by the way, he looks like a Jedi. He's got a blue lightsaber. Don't kill him. I need him. Just let him lead you to the temple. It could have been that kind of thing. Because I do believe Ads kind of asked a sub-question in there that I think Order 66 was a blanket order sent to all clones more or less at the same time with the same message. I don't think there was any sort of individualized, personalized messages. So that's kind of the way I see it. I don't see any evidence out there, and so somebody will hopefully correct me if I'm wrong, if there is anything that states canonically that Palpatine issued personal Order 66 calls. I don't see it that way. But yeah, I got to assume that there's something additional either in the coding or that during the passage of time that Anakin it was clear that Anakin was not a Jedi any longer.
Yeah, I'll chime in there. I'm back.
Oh, look who's back.
Yeah, having watched the Clone Wars, it's really hard to watch those scenes because the bond between the clone troopers and the Jedi is strong. Like they're brothers, man. Like, so it's really hard to imagine them turning their back so easily, but obviously their programming is so strong that they just can't deny that.
Now, I can't remember where I read it. I'm pretty sure it was somewhere that I read, and I'm pretty sure it's a canon thing, where one of the clones mentioned that once the order was triggered, they knew what they were doing. They knew it was wrong, but they couldn't resist the order. Like they just did it, even though they didn't necessarily want to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of horrible.
It's pretty horrible, yeah.
Another thing too is kind of, I think at this point, Anakin's already turned to the dark side when Order 66 is initiated, right? So maybe in my head, that's the protocol. Like, okay, Anakin's turn. We've got the Chosen One. Initiate Order 66, so they know that. Okay, you see General Skywalker? He's off limits. He's with us now. You know.
Yeah, that's I gotta imagine something like that went down that we just don't know about. Okay, so let's move on to Az lighthearted question, and it's a toughie. So Corey, would you rather kill all non-humans or annihilate all droids in Star Wars?
That's a really tough question to answer because you're talking kind of like mass genocide of a lot of stuff. I mean, the obvious answer, you got to kind of go with get rid of the droids, no matter how hard it is, because there's billions and well, say thousands and thousands of different species out there, which with billions and billions of people, so you can't really annihilate all of them. They're all kind of key to that galaxy. Although the droids have, I've said it before, without droids, there'd be no rebellion, there'd be no destruction of the Death Star, there'd be none of that stuff,
Yeah, I mean, it's all linked, but you have to make a difficult decision here. Is it, I'm going to just get rid of all the R2s, all the BB-8s, all the choppers, all the AP-5s. They're all adding, Carlos, I didn't mention the other guy, your guy. So you get rid of all those classic characters, or you can dump the Heras, the Chewies, Jabba. What's Star Wars without Jabba?
You gotta keep them. I mean, again, we've noticed these droids. We've grown to love these droids, but they're a handful out of like millions of droids that are liberated. Like, it seems we get the impression through watching a lot of the animation and even the movies that droids are like looked down upon. They're kind of like, hey, your kind's not welcome here. Like.
Yep. I mean, even AP5 said in this past episode that the Empire takes droids for granted.
And they do.
Or looks down on them. Something like that.
When the episode he turned, like, he's treated like complete garbage. And a lot of people look down on them like that. But again, there's not many of them that have their own identity, and it's there, but they haven't found it. They haven't unlocked their free will like R2 and BB-8 and Chopper, So it'd be kind of easier to, no matter how cute they are, even though they're the puppy dogs of the galaxy, it's kind of hard to wipe out every species in the galaxy in the name of droids.
Yeah. Where do you fall on this, James?
Well, first of all, yeah, you got to go with droids, because even though they're sort of like the puppy dogs of the galaxy, if you take all other species, you're actually wiping out puppy dogs too. So, just in sheer numbers, I think you got to agree with Corey. But something that's interesting is there's droids like R2 able to like overcome their programming and attain free will, but like the clones, who are like mostly people with a chip, couldn't overcome their programming.
Very few did. Like Rex Rex made the choice to remove his chip, as did Wolf and Gregor.
I guess it's also a matter of knowing if you have a chip inside you too, right? Like, these guys found out prior to Order 66, if you find out you have a chip inside you, even though you're working for the government or whatever, are you gonna just blindly have faith in that, or are you not gonna question it?
Well, they explored that, right? They explored that in one of the arcs where clone trooper Tup started malfunctioning, and he went as far as killing a Jedi because he had believed that Order 66 had been triggered.
Oh wow, I haven't gone there yet.
Oh boy, no, that's a fantastic arc. And then one of his friends, one of his clone buddies, suspects that, I think it's Fives actually, thinks that something about this is not right. And then he, during his sort of investigation into the whole thing, learns that he's got the chip in his head, and then all the clones have the chip in their head. So he has his remove. Oh, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's a really good arc, and it explores that whole issue of free will for the clones. But yeah, you're right, James. the droids, who are strict
computer programming, some of them are able to break those chains, whereas these clones really couldn't, for the most part.
Even the droids too, though. That like, what did AP5? He had was it a restriction bolt?
A restraining bolt.
Restraining bolt until R2 Chopper zapped it off him. Like, then only then did he kind of start maybe questioning things a bit. Like, it took a kind of, even for the droids, it kind of takes a bit of a kick in the butt. Like, they don't realize things. Even AP5, like, at first, he was very surprised that he can actually have his own free will if he wanted to.
Yeah, no, I just think there'd be more like checkpoints and fail safes in a thing that's made up entirely of computer chips as opposed to just interesting.
No, for sure. You're definitely dealing with something dangerous there, like AI running around the galaxy, like, and they don't even know how it, like, they don't ever say if it's, like, explained as to how these droids have their own free will.
Yeah, it's true. But it's one of those fascinating questions that we could probably debate and sound like fools doing so for a long time. But I don't think we're going to do that. At least not today.
Too late.
Thank you, ads. Yeah, I've got nothing to add. I mean, I would regretfully have to say goodbye to all the droids. The universe is better off with the living as opposed to the machines. So they're going to replace us all anyway at one point. So as long as we have the choice, let's choose the living, right?
No doubt.
So again, thank you, ads. I had fun with those questions this week, as I do every week. And boys, a little under the timer this week as we kind of bring the episode to a close. No listener questions this week. Nothing else to talk about. I think we're gonna quit while we're ahead.
Sweet.
Yeah, for once.
Yeah, literally for once.
Yeah, it's before midnight. This is very surprising. It's an odd turn of events.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you all for listening. It's been a pleasure putting on another show for you. We hope you enjoyed it. And again, welcome back to James. And one more time, thank you to Robcast and Carlos Candido. By now, you know where to find them. It's the Roman Podcast, and it's at C Candido Music on Twitter. Go check them out. Good Star Wars fans. Good Canadian boys, as Don Cherry would like to say.
Yeah, I have to say, like, just having those guys, super fun, always a rush, doing something new with these guys. You know them, but when you do something like this, it's just a little more intimate. But again, James, really, really, really great to have you back in the saddle as well, man. Like, I missed you, bro.
Hey, thanks, guys. It was really fun, but it's good to be back.
And ads, we've got to thank you again for your weekly contributions. And also a reminder to head over to StarWarsPodcastAwards.com. Vote for us. Vote for the Star Wars Commonwealth for Best Podcast Network. And that would include Talk Star Wars, Generation X-Wing, the Rogue Squadron Podcast, the Skyhoppers, and the Nerd Room. And that's really about it. Where can we find you on social media, Corey?
You can find me at Chop Rules with a Z.
Oh. I thought I remembered it.
Chop Rules the Waves with a Z. That's ads.
James, do you remember your Twitter handle? Twitter handle?
Do you remember how to say Twitter handle?
No, I got mixed up with Whittle.
And I do whittle.
Of course you do.
I'm unfindable on Twitter, so good luck.
Is that your handle? Unfindable? Oh man, I'm at Tumbling Saber. Find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Connect with me there, and I'd love to follow you back. If you've got a few minutes, an iTunes review would be just splendid. And otherwise, we'll just say thank you one more time for listening. And stay tuned. Later this week, we'll have Steven back, and we'll be bringing you another edition of Journals of the Willing. So, on behalf of Corey and James, my name's Kyle, and thank you all for listening, and we'll see you soon.
watching you walking away from me? Were you watching